Good to have this guy on the Saluki sideline this year. He's not very unfamiliar with Banterra Center at all, with his background with, of course, Illinois State, getting his coaching career started, and then ultimately coming over from UIC this past year. Coach Veasley, great to have you. Welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here for sure.
You mentioned your background. You've been very familiar, of course, in the Missouri Valley Conference for years, not just your most recent stop at UIC, but, of course, when you just got into coaching at Illinois State.
Yep.
What do you love about the league from all of your experiences from growing up as a video coordinator to now being one of the top assistants?
And I'll take it even a step further. My sophomore year, we actually came here and played against the Salukis. They came to Butler my freshman year and beat us, unfortunately. But no, I love the Valley because I think the Valley is what I am as a basketball player. Tough, physical, hard-nosed, blue-collar, just a bunch of guys who want to win at all costs. And every night in the Valley, you know it's going to be a battle. You know it's going to be a fight. And that's how I played. That's how I made my living as a basketball player. So to be in the league with some of the toughest, night in, night out, you know it's going to be a battle.
You got to play professional a little bit in Japan after you were done playing at Butler, but you went to 4 straight NCAA tournaments, which, of course, was capped. Being able to play in a national title game, I mean, those are experiences that not everybody gets. How did the success as a player for you drive you to maybe want to continue to be around the game as a coach?
And it's funny you asked that because it's something that whenever I'm recruiting and I'm talking to prospective student athletes, it's what I tell them. I know basketball. That's all I know how to do, and it's what I'm best at. And the best thing that I can do for these young men is I've been in their shoes. I'm going through the experiences that they went to. And I just want to, I want to be that ear, that shoulder to lean on. I've been there, I've done that. So if there's questions that they need answered, if there's things that they want to know, I want them to be able to pick my brain as much as I'm there to help them on the basketball court. I'm a bigger asset off the court.
You look at the successful teams, not just really anywhere. I mean, you can look across the country, but especially here at Southern, you look at those teams in the 2000s, just look at the coaching staffs. And when you had Coach Weber, Coach Painter, Coach Lowry, Coach Watson, all guys who ended up being Division I head coaches. I bring that up because when you were at Butler, of course, obviously Coach Stevens, who was your head coach,
yep.
Coach Graves, who's now back being Division I head coach within the Valley. You had Coach Shrewsbury, who is on staff. Coach Johnson is a big part of what Coach Painter does at Purdue. I mentioned the experiences of you as a player, but did you know as a player when you're around those type of basketball minds that was unique? Or did you kind of think that that's what it was like once you left?
No, I think in their own way, each guy was different, but each guy was special. One of the things that I did a lot, especially my freshman year, and I know they were probably annoyed at me, is, after class or just after anything, like I would, of course, hang in the locker room, but I would go to Coach Johnson's office and watch him break down games. I watched how hard those guys worked behind the scenes, and it's kind of what made me and pushed me, obviously, on the court, but now being in that same position, it's kind of what drives me, just knowing how hard they work to put us in position to be successful. But I think another name that is LaValle Jordan, who was there my freshman year as well, and has the experience as a head coach as well. All those guys, going into practice, the weight room, off the court, there was just lessons with everything that we did that to this day I still, when I do certain stuff, when I'm thinking about stuff, like their voice pops in my head, and that stuff right there was special to me.
When you think back to when you transitioned from being a player to then video coordinator at Illinois State, working your way up through the coaching ranks, what's the biggest adjustment for someone that's in your shoes of being used to playing to then making that flip to then becoming a coach?
Coach Dan Muller, who I attribute a lot of my success to getting me to where I am now, he would always tell me, you're not a player anymore. You're a coach. I got to look at the game differently. I got to approach it differently. So he's another one just, going into it would get me to look at the game and my approach and the way I carried myself differently. And just, you're not a player. You need to be someone that, not that they can be their friend and get along with, someone who I can trust, someone who can get the job done, but also that's always hungry and wants more.
Always you look at those experiences that you got within the league, Coach Veasley, as you mentioned with Coach Muller, But then Coach Richmond's done a great job at North Dakota State for years, and you were able to be a part of some really good teams there in Fargo. They're on the schedule again this year. They've been on the schedule in the past. I've really enjoyed being able to talk to him because you can just tell he loves that program, and that program's in his blood. When you know you're around guys like that, it only makes you better. What did you learn in your time in Fargo that maybe really sticks with you today?
I mean, what you just said, Coach Richmond's approach to that program, and just when you have that passion and you have that love, and just when he goes out and he recruits and he represents the program, like that program is him and he is the program, and the way that he prides himself in that. That's the thing that, with the stops that I've been at now, I want to give my all into that program so that when I go to sleep at night, I understand, like, I've given them my best. I've given them my all. Like, everything I do is for this program to make it better. And that's how everything he does, from his daughters to his wife, to, when he wakes up and goes to sleep, like, North Dakota State is on his mind, and he's given everything to that program, and I think it's shown in the success that they've had.
No question about it. We'll see him this year, as I mentioned. But to kind of piggyback off of that, when you join a staff, when you go to a program, it's, of course, you believe in the guy who's bringing you in. What is it about Coach Nagi that through the process of when you're going through and deciding maybe where you want to end up, where you want to go, what kind of pointed towards Coach Nagi and what you really liked about him and this opportunity here?
With Coach Nagi, it was a no-brainer. I was at Illinois State, and we played against his South Dakota State team and a young Mike Dom. And I'm watching film, and I'm just like, these guys are good. And we had some guys that were just kind of like, it's South Dakota State, and I was like, fellas, you can't take this team lightly. Like I'm watching the games. You guys are seeing highlights and clips and stuff, but I just think his approach. He's a no-nonsense, like, there's a lot of people that put fluff and, you see all the stuff, on the social media. He is who he is, and I think that's what makes him so good. Like, he's comfortable in his own skin. How he does anything is how he does everything, and I think just his approach, there's not a lot of flash and a lot of, it's like, let's just get down to business and let's get done what needs to get done. And we'll be a better team because of that, not because of what's posted here or what people talk about here or what's seen here. The results speak because of what we do on the court and in the weight room week in and week out.
Look, I've been very fortunate. Look, we already talked about the names you've been around. Some really great people in the business. But you also know there are also coaches who say maybe they're about their staff and lean on their staff, and then it totally maybe is controlled by them, and they don't give a ton of work to their staff or give a lot of belief to their staff. Reason I make that long ramble question to you is it feels like, at least early to me and being around you guys, Coach Nagi puts a lot of faith in you guys as coaches. And even though, yes, time on the floor, his voice is heard, all of you have a chance to really input your voices, and it's welcomed and encouraged.
I think within this business, again, I've been places and I've seen places where, it's just one person, maybe it's just this person and this person. Obviously fortunate enough to work for Coach Nagi, and, he'll tell you all the time, like, I'm trusting you guys on this one, and, stuff like, and it's that right there, just like talking to a player on the court, when it's like, I trust you to make the, and you give them the opportunity to prove themselves. That's him. He tells us all the time, like, I'm trusting you guys on this one. Like, hey, I need your help on this one. And it's not very often you hear someone who, technically in a position of power would say that. But it's who he is, and I think it's what makes him so good is that he is comfortable to, like, and he'll tell you, like, you guys are better at this than I am. Like, what do we need to do? What are you guys seeing on this? And it's stuff like that, from a player. You love to hear from the coach. Obviously, as a coach, for him to ask your opinion and stuff like that, it helps you with your confidence, and it helps you with your abilities and stuff like that. Like, he values my opinion. Like, he's looking for my opinion. It's not just him telling you what to do all the time, which he has that where he needs to, and we want that. But the confidence that comes from him asking your opinion and wanting your input and needing it at times and stuff like, in our position, it helps you. It makes you work harder and makes you want to, I need to be on top of this and stuff like that. I think it gives you some onus and some accountability.
What do you see, Coach Veasley, as your biggest strengths as an assistant and being part of the team? Now, every staff is different, so there may be times where you need to fill in different strengths wherever you're at and what school you're at, but specifically to this staff, what do you believe you bring to it? What are your biggest strengths?
I think if I go back to what I just talked about as a basketball player, for all these guys, like, to me, I value winning. I consider myself a winner. And I've been in these guys' shoes. I want them to lean on me. I want them to ask me questions. I think my biggest thing is that, like, I don't think I'm the perfect coach at all. I'm still learning. I love to, when Coach Nagi and Coach Hawk and Coach Mayman and Coach Reddick and Coach Gibbs, when they talk, like, I'm locked in like I'm a player still. And I think it's just my ability to obviously still want to learn, but then obviously just – to pass my experiences, to share, I've been in this situation. Hey, when I was a player and I had this, I thought about this, I did this. I think I can give that to the guys. And I think for me, just when it comes to recruiting and stuff like that, I'm able to relate to the guys because still not that old. But I am getting up there. But I think my ability to relate and to get along with any and everybody. I've got no ego. I'm always willing to learn. I always want to learn. But I think, just my ability to relate and to get along and to, just fit in whatever environment, situation, I think that's a pretty big strength of mine.
The other side of it too, Coach Veasley, is so much of the industry, maybe not necessarily coaching-wise has changed, but obviously – our sport and just the way it looks in terms of roster management, et cetera, has completely changed. What was the process like for you, one, to try to get on the staff here at Coach Nagi? And once you were here, once you guys compiled your staff of, okay, what do we want this version of Saluki basketball to look like? What was that communication process like for all of you?
Honestly, one of the smoothest transitions, I've been a part of. Obviously, it's an ever-changing with college basketball and stuff like that. But I think it's a little bit what we talked about with Coach Nagi when he goes, I'm leaning on you guys for this. But I think with everyone, and we were all in the conference room, and we met quite a bit and just sat down and be like, look, what do we need? Where are we at with this guy? I think for us to be on top of it, to keep everyone informed. I've seen it where, it's only this guy that recruits. I've seen it where it's just, no one knows who's recruiting who. I think one of the best things that we do is, we meet a ton, but needed, and it allows, for me especially, just for us to be on top of, who we're recruiting, this guy, where are we at with this guy. I think it helps everybody. But I think with this this initial year, with everybody, we want to win, but we're not going to sacrifice culture. We're not going to sacrifice, obviously, our morals, integrity, and stuff like that. This team is going to embody Coach Nagi. We're going to be tough. We're going to be physical. We're going to defend. And that was our main basis with everyone we brought in is like we want tough, hard-nosed competitors who want to win and who understand that it's not going to be this guy, that guy. It's going to be a collective of everybody on the roster that comes in. And Coach will tell you, you're not going to impress us by how well you can score the ball and, are you going to dive on the floor? When we're in the thick of things and it's the last 4-minute media, like who are you at that time? And that's the thing that we really, really evaluated guys on.
Had a full week in Davies, just as we talk here today, just after the first day in Banterra for a practice. But just in that small amount of time, what do you like about a group that you've, of course, seen on paper for over a month of thinking, I think this guy, I think these guys can fit together, to now just a little bit over a week? What's impressed you about the group on the floor to this point?
To be honest with you, our size, our length, athleticism, we've got the ability to do some really good things on the defensive end of the floor, which in hand will translate and, we'll be able to do some things on the offensive side of the ball. But really, I just love that, we compete. The guys, they want more. They're always, if a drill is supposed to end, one more, all is finished. Like, I think we've learned that we've got the right guys, the guys that we wanted through the evaluation process. I think this group, they've been a blast just to work with. There's never been complaining, and if there is, we haven't had to say anything. We've had their teammates come and be like, hey, we're good. You're good. I think the best teams are when you've got those guys, and it's not just been one guy. We've had multiple guys who have come and held a teammate accountable and allowed others to hold them accountable. And I think that stuff right there is the making of a championship team.
One of the areas where I always enjoy to see where coaches go and see who they really work out with. And you guys interact with everybody on the roster, but you spent a lot of time with Jaheim so far this summer. What's impressed you about him as a freshman to come in and, as you said, you've been in these guys' shoes before, of what are ways you really try to help him as he goes through a very important time as the summer evolves for a freshman?
I think with him, the thing that I've learned, and it took me a while as a player to just learn about routine, especially as a young guy. Like most guys, when they come in the gym, their first shot is a three. They might chuck up a half court. Somebody might try to shoot it over the backboard and try to make it in. I want to set the tone for him as a freshman and just like, hey, like you've got to come in, you've got to get a routine. When we say practice starts at 11:30, that doesn't mean we start getting warmed up at 11:30. At 11:30, we want to practice. We want to go. And I've tried to instill in him, early especially, is to get you a routine. I'm not saying you need to be in peak physical shape and ready, but when 11:30 hits and we're ready to start practice in this workout, you need to be ready to go. And I think with him, just his willingness to accept coaching. You can tell him something, and then I can be talking to someone else, and out of the corner of my eye, I can see him working on something that we've talked about. I can see him taking what we've done and taking it a step further, and wanting to get better at it and stuff like that. And just, you gravitate towards guys who want to learn. You gravitate towards guys who, they know they don't have all the answers, and they want knowledge. They want to be coached. They want to be pushed. And he's one of those guys, and I think it's rare from an early age, that he's so accepting, and he doesn't want to have all the answers. He wants to be coached.
Will be an area I know that gets pushed throughout the rest of the summer as we wrap up here with you, Coach Veasley. I thought Coach Nagy's point today was really good with the guys. We have the pieces we need. If things don't go well, it's probably going to be because we're soft. He's like, we need to be that team that goes out there with the mentality, as you've talked about multiple times during our interview, that mentality of diving for loose balls on the floor, doing things that the really good Saluki basketball teams have always done in the past. How much of an emphasis, and really maybe not emphasis, we know you're going to emphasize it, but how important is the here and now? People may think, okay, it's the month of June, but how important are these days in June to count when you get all the way to March in St. Louis when it comes down to that tournament for Arch Madness?
Well, I think these are, especially for, so many new faces, and, in reality we're all kind of new because, again, Coach Nagi, our staff, the team, but to me these days are so important because they're the foundation of what we're building. We're instilling the diving on the floor, the loose balls, the boxing out, the extra possessions and stuff like that. That stuff, and like most people, it may not pay off right now, but come February and March is when you notice it, and it's when those plays need to be made. And it's, we want it to be not where we have to talk about it or show film. We want it to be just second nature where, there's a loose ball. It's like, I don't got to think about it. Like, I know I'm supposed to dive on that. The shot goes up. Let me not watch it. Let me not, let's not make it a jumping contest. Like, no, I need to go hit this guy and box him out. And I think that stuff right there, I've always been taught as a player, it's the little things. The little things matter in June, July, because come March, come February, March, April, those things right there win basketball games.
So my last question, maybe the hardest one that I asked you, really not even a question, but how was Father's Day with Emily and the family over the weekend? Were you able to get some time, number one, with the family this weekend?
I did. It's still sometimes it's weird because I still picture myself as a freshman playing varsity, a freshman coming into college and not knowing anything, and now I got two little ones who look up to me, and but no, it was great. I'm low key. It was really low key. Hung out, went to brunch and stuff. Took them to even though it was Father's Day, it was about them, and we went to a splash pad and let them play in the water and stuff. But no, it was great. It's something that I've learned from Coach Muller, Coach Yaklich, to now Coach Nagi, like to take advantage of any time I could spend with my family and stuff like that. And it was a good day, but it was also good to get back and be on the court.
Well, it's great to have you here. Number one, good to see you in Saluki Maroon. I know my partner, Rodney Watson, would agree too.
Coach, yes.
Yes, absolutely. Look forward to many more conversations this summer and, of course, once we get really rolling throughout the year, Coach Veasley. Appreciate the time.
No, I appreciate you.